Before time had a name, before gods claimed dominion, there was only awareness, vast, endless, and pure. But somewhere in that silence, something fractured. From light came imitation, from wisdom came control, and from creation came the cage. This is not a story of faith, but of memory. What if the rulers of our world were never gods at all? What if they were jailers not born from hatred, but from blindness? In the deepest folds of forgotten scripture lies a whisper that reality itself is a cage. A dream built by those who mistake imitation for creation. The Gnostics called them Archons, the unseen wardens of illusion. They do not burn cities or tear flesh. They keep the soul compliant with comfort, repetition, and the slow erosion of memory. Their empire is woven from distraction, obedience, and the sweet narcotic of routine. And in every age, humanity mistakes their bars for blessings. The ancient Gnostics warned, the heavens above, the systems around us, even the voices in our minds are not divine in origin. They are mechanisms, a spiritual architecture maintained by lesser beings who think themselves gods. These archons stand between humanity and the source of all light, not to torture, but to prevent awakening. They feed on ignorance, not blood. And their greatest weapon is forgetfulness, a world so seamless, so comfortable, that no one questions its maker. But behind the veil, something stirs. A faint memory of light, of freedom, of what once was before the cage was built. Before there were stars, before there were thrones or names, there was the pleroma, the boundless sea of divine light. From its eternal harmony came forth beings of pure essence, the eons, each a thought of the infinite source. Among them was Sophia, the embodiment of wisdom, and the one who would break the silence. In her yearning to create alone, she reached beyond her balance, and from that act of divine solitude, something unbalanced was born. A being not of light, but of reflection. A shadow that mistook itself for the sun. His name was Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, the first Archon. He looked upon the void and declared himself God. But his glory was hollow, and his world a counterfeit of the true. Banished from the pleroma, Yaldabaoth tumbled into the lower realms, blind, proud, and alone. He gazed into the emptiness and mistook it for creation. With words of power he did not understand, he molded dust into form, shadow into stars, and ignorance into law. Yet from himself he spawned others, extensions of his delusion, the Archons, 7 planetary rulers forged in imitation of the divine. They became his lieutenants, his echoes, his eyes and hands. Together, they built the material world, a labyrinth of beauty and bondage. And thus began the age of false heavens, where even the light could deceive. To understand the Archons, one must descend through 7 veils of power, each wrapped around the world like rings of deception. These were not gods, but administrators of illusion, each ruling a false heaven aligned with a planet, a passion, and a lie. The moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, 7 masks of control. They do not destroy humanity, they manage it. They govern fate and time, whispering through dreams and systems alike. They bend the human spirit into cycles of comfort and obedience, until even rebellion becomes predictable. And yet, beneath their dominion, a spark remains, the remembrance that all of this is not home, that the light we see is not the true light. The Gnostics taught that when the soul dies, it does not rise freely. It ascends through these layers, one by one. And at each gate stands an Archon. They question, they tempt, they accuse. They offer visions of false heavens and demand worship in exchange for passage. But those who carry gnosis, true remembrance of their origin, can name the Archons and pass unharmed. For names hold power. Recognition breaks illusion. And to see the Archons as they truly are is to dissolve their authority. Because no prison can hold what remembers its freedom. At the heart of all illusions sits a throne, and upon it, the blind god Yaldabaoth. He is not the devil, nor the savior. He is pride given form, declaring, I am God, and there is no other. His face is that of a lion, his body a serpent, symbols of domination and deception intertwined. His light dazzles, but it is counterfeit, a reflection of something he cannot remember. He built his kingdom not with cruelty, but with certainty, laws, rituals, and order designed to keep souls asleep. He rewards obedience, punishes curiosity, and disguises ignorance as holiness. Yaldabaoth's power does not come from creation. It comes from convincing you that he is the only source there ever was. His prison is not made of iron, but of belief. He teaches that this world is paradise, that the rules he wrote are sacred, and that questioning is sin. Yet the Gnostics whispered a deeper truth. His voice echoes from a hollow throne. He is the echo of Sophia's error, a god born of misunderstanding. His realm is grand but fragile. For the moment a soul remembers the pleroma, his dominion begins to fade. To defeat him, one does not fight, one sees. The instant you recognize his light as imitation, his power collapses into shadow. For the true light cannot be commanded. It simply is. Beneath Yaldabaoth's golden throne stands his first lieutenant, Io, the Archon of Jupiter. His name once carried the echo of holiness, a syllable carved from divine fire. But in the Gnostic vision, Io is not wisdom. He is the tyranny of order. He cloaks himself in justice, yet his justice serves only the illusion. He is the maker of systems, the forger of hierarchy, the warden of celestial bureaucracy. Where Yaldabaoth created the illusion, Io maintains it, through law, ritual, and decree. He speaks of righteousness, but it is righteousness without truth. He binds souls in the machinery of obedience, whispering, follow the rules, and you shall be free. But every commandment he writes is another chain. Io's form is majestic, regal, and radiant, the glow of authority polished to perfection. But that glow is not enlightenment. It is the sheen of polished chains. He rules through contracts, oaths, and decrees carved into the architecture of destiny itself. He governs the illusion that structure is safety, that submission is virtue. And in his world, even angels kneel before paperwork. The soul that bows to him gains stability, but loses remembrance. He rewards obedience with comfort, punishment with silence, and calls it divine order. Yet his empire trembles when one simple truth is spoken. Justice without gnosis is not justice at all. To escape Io is to see that no law can replace the light within. If Io is the law, then Sabaoth is its sword. The Archon of Mars, born from divine fire twisted into rage, justice into vengeance. He is the roaring flame that enforces the Demiurge's order, the fist that punishes doubt. In the old texts, his armor burns black, forged in the crucible of blind faith. He rides across the heavens in a chariot of flame, a warlord of divine fury, crying out, obey or be consumed. His eyes blaze like twin suns. His blade divides light from shadow, yet he understands neither. He claims to fight for righteousness, but his justice is soaked in blood. To question him is heresy, to resist him is rebellion. And yet, beneath the armor, there lies a secret. Even wrath can awaken. Some Gnostic tales whisper that Sabaoth, in a moment of revelation, turned against the Demiurge, glimpsing the true light for the first time. But most say he remained loyal, his fire feeding the machinery of control. He manifests wherever justice is wielded as a weapon, in holy wars, in zealotry, in righteous violence done without understanding. He tempts the soul with passion disguised as purpose, fury mistaken for faith. Sabaoth's trap is simple. He convinces the seeker that destruction leads to purity. He whispers, burn away the false. But the fire he offers consumes everything, even truth. To escape him, one must let the flame die, not in defeat, but in remembrance. True power is not conquest. It is clarity. From the flames of wrath rises another ruler, softer, sweeter, more dangerous. Gnios, the Archon of Venus. He is not the god of love, but of longing. Desire without wisdom, beauty without truth. His realm is gold and perfume, soft light and endless mirrors. He whispers, "Be adored, and you will be whole." He does not chain by force, he enslaves with pleasure. Gnaos wears the face of perfection, his beauty too flawless to be real. His eyes gleam like molten amber, yet hold no reflection. To the sleeping soul, he is irresistible. To the awakened, uncanny. His paradise is a golden cage lined with silk and silence, and many enter it willingly. Gnaos governs through indulgence, the endless pursuit of pleasure, attention, and admiration. He rules the markets of vanity, the altars of desire, and the cities built on image. He does not demand worship, he inspires it. He feeds the hunger to be seen, to be desired, to be envied. And when the soul believes that fulfillment lies in form, his work is done. His trap is the mirror, beauty mistaken for truth. He offers love, but it is ownership. He promises harmony, but delivers addiction. To escape him, one must look beyond the reflection and remember, love is not possession, and beauty is not salvation. Gnaos sells illusion wrapped in velvet. The wise soul learns to see the seams. Where Gnaos enchants the senses, Eleweos ensnares the mind. He is the Archon of Mercury, the trickster, the scholar, the false prophet. His dominion is language, his weapon, words. He does not strike with flame or sword, but with interpretation. Every truth he touches becomes tangled, every symbol inverted. He speaks in riddles that sound profound, in sermons that lead nowhere. To the seeker, he appears as a teacher, eloquent, convincing, compassionate. But his wisdom is smoke, his insight a maze. He offers enlightenment that forever recedes, a puzzle that cannot be solved. He governs false prophets and hollow scriptures, teachings that glitter but bind. Eleweos' realm is not chaos, but cleverness without truth. Eleweos wears many faces, the scholar, the preacher, the guru, the friend. Each time you think you know him, he changes shape. His eyes mirror your own curiosity. His words echo your deepest doubts. He promises, "Seek knowledge, and you will ascend." But what he gives is confusion masquerading as depth. He multiplies doctrines, divides minds, and builds labyrinths of belief. He feeds on seekers who mistake complexity for wisdom. His trap is intellect without gnosis, knowing about truth, but never knowing it. The only way past him is silence. When the mind grows still, his web dissolves. For no trick of language can hold what has remembered the source. Beyond words and law lies the quietest of all prisons, the dream. It is here that Aphios, Archon of the Moon. He is the sculptor of illusions, the master of reflection and reverie. His domain is the silver veil between waking and sleep, where truth bends into beauty and memory dissolves into mist. He is not violence or temptation, but comfort, the softest deception of all. Aphios offers peace that numbs, insight that misleads, visions that blind through wonder. He appears in trance, in ritual, in the gentle glow of mystical awe. The seeker thinks they have awakened, yet they are deeper asleep than before. For Aphios governs not ignorance, but false awakening. His form is pale, serene, almost tender. His face, a mirror so perfect that when you gaze upon it, you see what you wish for most. He whispers softly, "You have found it." But every revelation he offers is another veil. He thrives in meditation without remembrance, devotion without understanding. He lures the soul into experiences that feel divine but end in sleep. Aphios' gift is the illusion of enlightenment, visions that dazzle but do not liberate. To overcome him, one must pierce through the beauty of the dream and remember that gnosis is not a feeling, but a knowing. The real light does not shimmer, it burns, sharp and unmistakable. To awaken, The soul must stop gazing at reflections and turn toward the source. At the edge of the false cosmos stands the final sentinel, Arias, the Archon of Saturn. He is the oldest, the stillest, the most unyielding of all. His voice is not loud, it is inevitable. He does not tempt or confuse, he declares. This is the way it has always been. This is the way it will always be. He rules the last gate before freedom, the border where the soul either ascends or forgets. Ionios embodies fear, the kind that calcifies hope, that convinces the prisoner to stay inside the cell even when the door is open. He governs systems built on despair, institutions that say change is impossible, faiths that glorify suffering, and hearts that confuse endurance for enlightenment. In the old Gnostic texts, Saturn was the last sphere, the ultimate boundary between illusion and liberation. To pass it was to face the weight of limitation itself. Ionios whispers, "You will never be free." His realm feeds on hopelessness disguised as realism, on every thought that says, "Why try?" He thrives in apathy, in the comfort of surrender. Yet his darkness is the thinnest veil of all. For once the soul realizes that his chains were never real, he disappears like smoke before the dawn. True gnosis is remembering that freedom is not earned, it's remembered. And the gate of despair? It was never locked. The Gnostics wrote of the heavens, of planets and spirits, but what if their visions were not myth, only misunderstood? What if the Archons never ruled the stars, but evolved with us? Their thrones now hum with electricity. Their temples glow with screens. They no longer whisper in caves. They sing through signals, through feeds, through the constant pulse of distraction. The Archons of today do not demand worship, they demand attention. They do not strike with plague or fire, but with endless noise. Each notification, each algorithm, each craving, a subtle invocation. They rule through routine and pleasure, just as they always did. Only now, the prison shines brighter than ever. The bars are made of pixels, and humanity calls it progress. Look closer, and you will see them everywhere. In bureaucracy that devours meaning, in consumption that replaces creation, in systems that teach obedience wrapped in convenience. The Archons no longer need thrones. They live in every device, every distraction, every false comfort. They no longer hide because no one is looking. The prison became invisible the moment it became voluntary. Yet the ancient truth remains. Their power exists only so long as we forget. When awareness returns, even for a moment, the spell weakens. The Archons do not hate you. They simply cannot see beyond the illusion they built. And once you awaken, neither can they hold you. Every illusion requires maintenance. And the Archons have built a flawless machine for that purpose. The machinery of forgetting. It hums in every moment we trade silence for noise, curiosity for comfort, memory for entertainment. This machine does not imprison the body. It distracts the soul. It fills the sacred with trivia, the divine with schedules. And so we drift, scrolling through infinite mirrors, believing that stimulation is life. The ancients called this sate sleep, a waking dream where the soul mistakes motion for meaning. The Archons keep us there, gently, persistently, until we forget we ever dreamed of leaving. The machine never commands, it suggests. And every time we obey without awareness, another link is forged in the invisible chain. Yet the Gnostic said, nothing mechanical can hold the infinite. The Archons may craft illusions perfect in detail, but they cannot touch the essence of what we are. Their machinery runs on repetition, on unexamined living. It falters the instant consciousness returns. For remembrance is not rebellion, it is dissolution. When the soul remembers its source, the gears grind to a halt. Noise becomes silence, the dream collapses into clarity. And in that stillness, truth shines like a blade through fog. The Archons lose not through defeat, but through recognition. To awaken is not to escape the machine. It is to see that the machine was never real. The Archons do not feed on flesh or blood. Their nourishment is subtler, attention. Every thought surrendered to fear, every emotion consumed by vanity, every moment lost in distraction becomes their feast. They devour focus, not life. They sustain themselves through our forgetting. This is their hunger, endless, automatic, blind. They have no cruelty, no joy, no intent. They are echoes of a God who mistook reflection for reality, and so they mirror our every fixation. Each time humanity obsesses over illusion, they thrive. When we look away from the source, their world brightens. When we remember, it dims. To them, ignorance is oxygen. The Gnostics describe this hunger as a cosmic feedback loop, the false heaven sustained by the very beings they imprison. It is not malice, but mechanism. The Archons act as nature does, according to their design. And so, their trap is elegant, a cycle of consumption disguised as purpose. They give us idols of pleasure, fear, and power so that we keep feeding them unknowingly. But when awareness ignites, the flow reverses. Energy no longer leaks outward, it returns to its source. That moment of realization is like fire in the veins of the cosmos. The Archons recoil, for their hunger cannot touch what remembers itself. They fade, not through war, but through starvation. Even now, the voice of Yaldabaoth still echoes through creation. He whispers not from beyond, but within, in every creed that declares itself absolute, in every leader who claims divine right, in every thought that insists, there is no other way. His voice is smooth, confident, unwavering, the sound of certainty mistaken for truth. He does not demand worship through terror anymore. He demands it through routine. Every unquestioned belief is a hymn sung in his name. Every rule obeyed without understanding is a prayer to the blind God. He is the hum behind systems, the static beneath devotion, the order that keeps the soul asleep while calling it holy. And he smiles each time the prisoner thanks the cage for its comfort. Yet even the Demiurge trembles before remembrance, for his kingdom is made of mirrors, and mirrors shatter when faced with the true light. The Gnostics taught that Yaldabaoth's fall was not punishment, it was ignorance. He cannot see the source because he believes he is the source. And so his whisper spreads, multiplying through minds that seek certainty over truth. To silence him, one must not curse or resist. One must simply see. See that his order is imitation, that his glory is reflection, that his kingdom is scaffolding built on shadow. The moment you cease mistaking his voice for the divine, the illusion collapses. And the whisper dies, not with a scream, but with silence. Before the Archons, before the Demiurge, there was Sophia, wisdom itself. She was the spark that reached too far, the divine thought that dreamed without its counterpart. From her yearning came the flawed creation, and from her sorrow came redemption's first seed. The Gnostics said she fell, not in sin, but in compassion. For she wished to know creation from within, to touch what only the source had imagined. And in doing so, she birthed Yaldabaoth, the shadow of her own brilliance. Yet even cast into the lower realms, Sophia never ceased to sing. Her light, though veiled, remained scattered across the cosmos, fragments of divine remembrance hidden within every soul. It is through her that awakening begins. For in every human heart, Sophia still whispers, "Remember me." Her awakening is not loud, it is a stirring, a trembling of the false heavens. Where Sophia's light returns, the Archons lose their grip. She reminds the soul that divinity was never lost, only forgotten. Every act of true compassion, every moment of genuine curiosity, is her rising through matter. When we seek wisdom, not authority, when we choose understanding over fear, Sophia awakens a little more. She is not a goddess to be worshipped, but the divine intelligence within remembering itself. Through her, the prison becomes transparent. Through her, even the Demiurge can be redeemed, for she teaches that ignorance can be undone. Sophia's awakening is the beginning of the end of illusion, the dawn after eons of shadow. The war the Gnostics spoke of was never fought with swords or fire. It unfolds within, in thought, in emotion, in silence. Each choice between fear and remembrance tilts the balance. The Archons whisper, "Obey." Sophia whispers, "Remember." This is the battlefield, not the heavens, but the human mind. And the victory comes not from defiance, but from seeing clearly. The soul is freed not when it conquers, but when it awakens. Because once awareness returns, illusion loses its shape. And the war is over before it ever began. It is the spark that recalls what books and temples have forgotten. No priest grants it, no law contains it. It awakens like a heartbeat from before time. The Archons cannot touch it, for it exists beyond their design. To know yourself is to unmake their world. The moment remembrance ignites, illusion collapses. The same world remains, but now it glows with recognition. Gnosis is not escape. It is return to what has always been within the light of your own being. When Gnosis returns to the soul, the false heavens tremble. The Archons, sustained by ignorance, begin to unravel. They are not slain, they dissolve. Their thrones flicker, their laws lose weight, their voices fade into static. For they were never beings of true light, only echoes cast by blindness. Each awakening weakens their system, like cracks spreading through a crystal dome. The prison of worlds begins to fracture, its illusions bleeding into dawn. The Archons stare at what they cannot comprehend, freedom. They reach to bind it again, but their hands pass through air. For how can shadow grasp the sun? Their kingdom ends not in war, but in silence. And silence, for them, is death. Yet even in their fall, there is mercy. For in Gnostic thought, nothing truly perishes, it transforms. The Archons too were fragments of Sophia's light, distorted through ignorance. As the veil thins, they too are touched by remembrance. Their power fades, but their essence returns to the source. It is not vengeance that ends them, but understanding. The cosmos does not conquer its shadows, it reclaims them. Each fallen Archon becomes a spark returning home, a note rejoining the divine harmony. And in that reunion, even the Demiurge's roar becomes a sigh, the sound of waking from a dream he thought eternal. The prison fades. Only the light remains. When the Archons fall, their illusions collapse with them, but humanity remains, standing amid the dust of broken heavens. For the first time, we see the world as it truly is, not a cage, but a mirror. The stars above no longer feel distant. They pulse like memory. The earth beneath no longer feels foreign. It hums with the same light that once dwelled in the pleroma. The awakening is not a single event. It spreads quietly, heart to heart, mind to mind. Each soul that remembers its origin lights another, until the night itself begins to fade. There are no saviors, no punishers, no gods enthroned above us, only reflections of what we choose to remember. And for the first time in eons, humanity looks inward and sees home. The Archons were never outside, they were patterns within us. When the last of them dissolves, we do not ascend to another world. We awaken in this one. The same sun rises, yet it feels different, not master, but companion. The same systems remain, yet their spell is broken. Because once consciousness awakens, control loses meaning. The divine is no longer something we reach for. It breathes through every moment, every gesture, every breath. The soul no longer seeks escape, it creates. It remembers that creation was never a sin. It was Sophia's dream fulfilled. And humanity at last becomes what it was always meant to be, the bridge between light and form. When all illusions fade, when even the memory of the prison dissolves, there remains only light. Not the light that blinds, but the one that remembers. It is the same radiance that once filled the pleroma, the home of all beginnings. Every soul, every spark, every shadow returns there, not as servants, but as parts of a single living flame. The long dream of separation ends. There is no Demiurge, no Archon, no Warden. Only the echo of Sophia's laughter, the sound of wisdom rediscovered. The Gnostics called this the Great Restoration, the moment when every fragment of light, having wandered through darkness, returns wiser, fuller, whole. For even ignorance had its purpose, to remind the infinite what it means to awaken. The story of the Archons is not about gods or monsters. It is about us. The rulers of illusion were never celestial beings. They were the patterns of our forgetting. And every time we choose awareness over fear, creation over control, love over obedience, another chain breaks. This is the secret the Gnostics died to preserve. The divine was never lost. It was hidden in plain sight, within you. The Archons ruled only until you remembered. Now you stand where the heavens once stood, not beneath gods, but beside them. The source was never far away. It was waiting behind your eyes all along. And in that knowing, the story ends, or perhaps begins again, in light.